Right? Ma'am, you need to leave.
Why?
Because I said so.
What law am I breaking?
Pack up and go.
The swing chains squeaked in a slow, happy rhythm. A toddler laughed so hard he snorted. A little girl screamed, "Push me higher!" like the world couldn't possibly be dangerous in a park at 4:36 p.m. And then a patrol car rolled up beside the curb and made the whole playground feel smaller. Officer Tyler Briggs stepped out with that stiff posture that says he came to control, not to ask. He scanned the park like he was looking for trouble. Then his eyes landed on one woman, one blanket, one stroller, two kids with the kind of messy hair and grass stains that only come from a good afternoon. "Ma'am," he called. Keisha Monroe looked up from tying her son's shoelace. She didn't flinch. She didn't bolt. She simply raised her head and met his gaze. "Yes?" Officer Briggs pointed toward the sidewalk. "You need to leave," he said. Keisha blinked. "What?" "You heard me," Briggs replied. "Pack up and go." Keisha's daughter, Nia, 5 years old, freckles across her nose, paused at the bottom of the slide and stared. Keisha's son, Micah, 3, cheeks still sticky from a juice box, clutched his plastic dinosaur and looked confused. Keisha stood slowly, hands empty, palms visible, instinctively doing what she'd learned to do in moments that shouldn't require instincts. "Officer," she said calmly. "Why?" Briggs didn't answer with a reason. He answered with authority. "Because I said so," he snapped. And right there, under a bright sky, in a public playground surrounded by children, one officer turned a normal family moment into a confrontation about belonging. It would end quietly. No handcuffs, no viral news conference, just a lawsuit, a sealed settlement, and a city writing a $975,000 check because cameras and witnesses made the truth too expensive to ignore. Rewind. To the part nobody sees when they watch a short clip. Keisha Monroe didn't bring her kids to Maplewood Park to make a statement. She brought them because she was tired. Tired in the way parents are tired when they work full-time, raise children, and still try to create small moments that feel like childhood. Keisha was 31, a medical billing specialist who spent her days untangling codes and approvals for people she'd never meet. She lived in a 2-bedroom apartment across town. The playground near her building was tiny, cracked, and always crowded. Maplewood Park, newer equipment, clean grass, a shaded picnic area, was where she went when she wanted her kids to feel like the world was wide. She'd come there a few times before, always polite, always focused on her kids, never loud, never disruptive. And still, she noticed the looks sometimes, the long stares, the quick glances, the way some parents smiled at her kids but not at her. Keisha didn't take it personally. She didn't have energy for personal. She had snacks to pack and schedules to keep. That afternoon, she arrived around 4:05. The sun was warm but soft, the kind of late-day light that makes everything look kinder. A few families were already there. A couple of older kids played basketball on the small court. 2 moms chatted near the benches. Keisha spread a small blanket under a tree, gave Micah his dinosaur, helped Nia climb the ladder, and for a while it was just joy, until someone decided joy looked out of place, that someone wasn't Officer Briggs. Not at first. It was a woman sitting on a bench near the entrance, phone held low, pretending to scroll while her eyes tracked Keisha's movements. Her name, Keisha would learn later, was Lauren Whitcomb. 40s, athleisure outfit, big sunglasses, the kind of person who talked about safety the way some people talk about weather. When Keisha walked past her to throw away a juice box, Lauren smiled politely. Then, after Keisha returned to the blanket, Lauren stood up and walked to the edge of the playground like she was checking something. She wasn't. She was watching. And at 4:18 p.m., Lauren made a call. Not to a friend, not to the parks department, to the police. The call was framed as concern. It always is. "There's a woman here who doesn't seem to belong," Lauren said. Dispatch asked what she meant. Lauren hesitated, then filled the silence with detail. "She's got 2 kids," she said, "but I don't recognize her. She's been moving around, watching other kids. She has a stroller and bags. I'm worried." Worried, a word that can carry bias without naming it. Dispatch asked if Keisha threatened anyone. "No," Lauren admitted. "Did Keisha touch anyone's child?" "No, but you never know," Lauren added. "You never know," a phrase that turns imagination into probable cause. Dispatch coded the call as suspicious person/possible disturbance. Officer Briggs was nearby. He responded. Briggs arrived with a story, already written. That's why his first words weren't, "Hi, ma'am, everything okay?" They were, "You need to leave." Keisha, standing on the grass with her kids behind her, felt her stomach tighten. "I'm here with my children," she said. "We're playing." Briggs's eyes flicked to Nia, then to Micah, then back to Keisha. "You were reported," he said. "People are uncomfortable." Keisha stared. "Uncomfortable with what?" she asked. Briggs didn't answer. He shifted to the language of enforcement. "This park is for residents," he said. Keisha's eyebrows lifted. "I am a resident of this city," she replied. "And this is a public park." Briggs's jaw tightened. "You don't have to get smart," he snapped. Keisha's voice stayed calm. "I'm not being smart," she said. "I'm asking what law I'm breaking." Briggs stepped closer, close enough that Keisha could smell coffee on his breath, close enough that her kids instinctively edged nearer. "I can trespass you," Briggs said. Keisha's heart thudded. "Trespass me?" she repeated. "From a public playground?" Briggs's eyes narrowed. "If I say you need to leave and you refuse," he said, "that's disorderly." Disorderly, because she asked for a reason. Keisha looked around. She saw phones. 2 parents had already raised theirs. A teen near the basketball court was filming openly. And across the street, a doorbell camera pointed toward the park entrance blinked faintly. The record was forming. Keisha made a decision, not to fight, to document. "Officer," she said clearly, "for the record, I am here with my children. I am not causing a disturbance. I am asking what law I'm breaking. Please explain why you're ordering me to leave." Briggs flinched slightly. People flinch when you turn a command into a question that has to be answered. "I told you," he said. "You were reported." "That's not a reason," Keisha replied. "That's a phone call." Briggs's voice sharpened. "Do you want to go to jail in front of your kids?" he asked. The playground went quiet in the way crowds go quiet when something ugly breaks through normal life. Nia whispered, "Mommy?" Micah clutched Keisha's leg. Keisha felt heat rise. She pushed it down, because she knew what anger would be called. Aggression, threat, resistance. So she stayed steady. "No," she said. "I want you to do your job correctly." Briggs's eyes flashed, and for a second, it looked like he might grab her arm. Then a voice cut in. "Officer," a man called from the bench line. "She hasn't done anything." Briggs turned. "Sir, stay out of it," he barked. The man didn't move. He held up his phone. "I'm recording," he said. Briggs stiffened, because cameras change math, not always behavior, but math. Briggs took a step back. He spoke into his radio. "Need a supervisor at Maplewood Park," he said. "Subject refusing to leave." Keisha heard the word subject, not mom, not parent, subject. She swallowed. "My kids are right here," she said. "Lower your voice." Briggs scoffed. "Then leave," he replied. The supervisor arrived at 4:44, Sergeant Dana Holt, older, tired eyes, the kind of supervisor who reads a scene before anyone explains it. She stepped out, looked at Keisha, looked at the kids, looked at Briggs. "What's going on?" Holt asked. Briggs spoke quickly. "Call about suspicious female," he said. "Resident's uncomfortable. She's refusing to leave." Holt's eyes narrowed. "Suspicious how?" she asked. Briggs hesitated. "She's not from around here," he said. Holt looked at him. That's when the silence said everything. Holt turned to Keisha. "Ma'am," she said calmly, "what's your name?" Keisha answered. Then she did what smart people do when they want truth recorded. She kept it factual. "I brought my kids to the park," she said. "I've been sitting on that blanket. I haven't bothered anyone. Officer Briggs ordered me to leave without telling me what law I'm breaking." Holt looked at the blanket, the stroller, the juice boxes, the dinosaur, a scene of normal parenting. Then Holt turned back to Briggs. "Is there an ordinance being violated?" Holt asked. Briggs's mouth opened, closed. He tried. "Loitering," he said. Holt blinked. "In a playground?" she asked. Briggs's face flushed. Holt's voice went firm. "Ma'am," she said to Keisha, "you're free to stay. This is a public park." Keisha exhaled. Not relief, a release. Holt turned to Briggs. "Come with me," she said quietly. Briggs followed her a few steps away. Their voices dropped, but the cameras still caught body language. The way Holt pointed toward the park sign. The way Briggs's shoulders tightened. The way he avoided looking at Keisha. Lauren Whitcomb, the caller, stood near the entrance pretending she hadn't started it. Holt spotted her. "Ma'am," Holt said, walking over. "Did you call?" Lauren lifted her chin. "Yes," she said. "I was concerned." Holt's voice stayed controlled. "Concerned about what, specifically?" Lauren hesitated. I don't know her," she said. Holt nodded slowly. "Not knowing someone isn't a crime," she replied. Lauren's lips tightened. "Well, you can't be too careful," she muttered. Holt held her gaze. "Be careful with 911, Holt said. "It's not a neighborhood tool." Lauren looked away. The warning was calm, but it landed. Keisha stayed at the park another 10 minutes, not because she wanted to, because leaving immediately would feel like surrender, like the park wasn't hers. Nia went down the slide once more, slower than before. Micah sat on the blanket and stared at his dinosaur like he was trying to understand why adults made the world weird. Keisha's hands shook slightly when she opened another juice box. No one noticed. She kept her face steady. Because moms learn to hold the temperature for everyone. That night, Keisha didn't post a rant. She requested records. She asked for the Bodycam. She asked for the dispatch audio. She saved the videos neighbors sent her, because the park had witnesses, and witnesses now come with cameras. The city's first response was predictable. They called it a misunderstanding. They said the officer responded to a call. They said there was no arrest. They hoped it would fade. But Keisha's attorney knew what mattered. The threat, the order, the lack of legal basis, the humiliation in front of children, and the chilling effect. Because after that day, Keisha didn't want to go back to Maplewood Park. Not because she didn't love the swings, because she didn't trust the system to let her be normal there. Here's the twist that made the case settle. Discovery revealed that Officer Briggs had prior complaints. Not about crime, about tone, about over-enforcement of public space. A note from a supervisor recommending de-escalation training. A prior citizen complaint that he used trespass threats as leverage. The city had kept him on patrol. And now, with footage of a mother being threatened in a playground, the pattern looked ugly. The second twist was the dispatch recording. Lauren's call didn't describe a crime. It described discomfort. And dispatch still sent police. The case argued that the city treated discomfort as suspicion, and then an officer treated suspicion as authority. That chain, phone call to command to threat, was the spine of the lawsuit. The city didn't want trial, not with children involved, not with Bodycam, not with a supervisor on tape saying, "This is a public park," so they negotiated, quietly, behind closed doors, and the settlement happened the way many municipalities prefers. No big press release, no dramatic admission, just a number, $975,000, a check that spoke without words, because cities may deny wrongdoing, but they don't write checks for nothing. The settlement included policy changes, updated guidance for public space calls, a rule requiring officers to articulate an actual ordinance before issuing a leave order, supervisor review for any trespass threat in public parks, training on bias and on the limits of enforcement when the complaint is simply, "I don't recognize them," and a directive discouraging officers from using detention threats around children absent immediate danger, because children are not supposed to learn fear at the playground. Keisha didn't become an activist overnight. She didn't start giving speeches. She went back to her life, work, school drop-offs, dinner, laundry. But she changed. She started choosing parks differently. She started noticing who watched her. She started keeping her phone charged. And she started teaching her daughter something she wished she didn't have to teach, that sometimes adults will question your right to be somewhere even when you've done nothing wrong. Nia asked a week later, "Mommy, why did that man want us to go?" Keisha paused. She didn't lie. She didn't dump the world on a 5-year-old. She said, "Sometimes people make mistakes about who belongs, and we don't let their mistakes decide our joy." Nia nodded slowly, not fully understanding, but remembering, and that's the real damage of moments like this. Not just the threat, the memory, the way it rewires a normal afternoon. A swing chain squeak becomes something you hear over a police radio. A slide becomes a place where your mother stands between you and a badge. The city paid $975,000, quietly. But the lesson wasn't quiet. It was written into footage, into witness phones, into a mother's steady voice asking for a law that didn't exist, into a supervisor reminding everyone that public spaces are public, because the playground belongs to children, and to the parents who bring them, not to the people who feel uncomfortable when a black family is simply enjoying the afternoon, and not to an officer who thinks, "because I said so," is a lawful order. The swing chain squeaked again after the patrol car left. Kids kept laughing, the sun kept shining. But for Keisha, Maplewood Park was never quite the same. The city's $975,000 check couldn't buy that back. It could only admit, quietly, that the order should never have been given in the first place.